Would you like a long biography that you can curl up with this winter that's filled with intrigue and heartbreak and triumph? I've got just the one to recommend. I'm Library Lynn, and I make knowing great nonfiction books my mission. Don't know what to read next? I've always got ideas. Just so you know how I operate, I do tend to read backlist books. Occasionally, I'll throw a new one in too. We're going to talk about Catherine the Great, Portrait of a Woman by Robert K. Massey, which was published in 2011. We'll cover the three main points I got from the book, and I'll let you know what I liked most and what I liked least about it. And stay tuned to the end for the number one life lesson I got from the book. Hit like and subscribe so that you will always have nonfiction books to add to your to-be-read list. Sophia, whose name later became Catherine, started out as a minor German princess, and her mother was determined that she was going to marry as high up as she possibly could. So through her mother's efforts, Sophia was selected to be the bride of Peter III, who was the heir apparent to the Empress Elizabeth of Russia. This is what happened the first week after Sophia showed up in Russia. It did not take Sophia long to understand two underlying facts about her position in Russia. First, that it was Elizabeth, not Peter, whom she had to please. And second, that if she wanted to succeed in this new country, she must learn its language and practice its religious faith. Within a week of her arrival in Moscow, her education began. A professor was provided to teach her to read and speak Russian, and a scholarly priest was assigned to instruct her in the doctrines and liturgy of the Russian Orthodox Church. In contrast to Peter, who had bucked and rebelled against everything his teachers tried to teach him, Sophia was eager to learn. Robert K. Massey was an American historian who studied American history at Yale and then later European history at Oxford, where he was a Rhodes Scholar. His books on the Romanov family history, beginning with Peter the Great, popularized Russian history for American audiences. Massey passed away in 2019 at age 90. The three main points I got from the book. Number one, being a princess, at least for Catherine, was no picnic. Once she left for Russia, she never saw her beloved father again. She had to reinvent herself as a Russian. As the passage I read indicated, she had to give up her native language and learn Russian, and she had to convert from her native Lutheranism to Russian Orthodoxy. She did both willingly, even though it took a lot of work. But then there was also her betrothal to Peter III, her distant cousin, and he was a singularly unpleasant character. Massey takes great pains to point out that Peter himself had been brutalized and bullied as a child. So it made sense that he turned into an abusive bully himself, but my heart went out to Catherine as she tried to get along with him. And then there were the never-ending and unappreciated lengths she went through to make the Empress Elizabeth happy and love her and treat her fairly. Sometimes this worked, but sometimes Elizabeth was jealous of Catherine's attractiveness, and that caused her to be unpredictably harsh and vindictive. The second point I got from the book was that Russian society was a very rough one for the peasantry and the serfs. Like most European and many Asian societies of the time, Russia was a class-bound system. But under the influence of philosophers that she really admired, like Diderot and Voltaire, Catherine genuinely wanted to help all the social classes. She wanted to redo the Russian legal code left to her by Peter the Great with input from every class. Can you even imagine that? This was quite a change from the current laws, and here's an example of some of the current laws. The law set no limit on the right of owners to administer corporal punishment on the serfs. Disobedience, laziness, drunkenness, stealing, fighting, and resisting authority were cause for being beaten with whips, cudgels, and the knout. The only limit on a nobleman's power was that he was not permitted to execute a serf. He was, however, allowed to inflict punishment likely to cause death. A French traveler in Russia wrote, What disgusted me is to see men with gray hair and patriarchal beards lying on their faces with their trousers down and flogged like children. Still more horrible, I blush to write it, there are masters who sometimes force the son to inflict this punishment on his father. Some of the descriptions of how the serfs were treated was stomach-churning. Point 3. Unless Massey was leaving out an awful lot of material, the rumors that you may have heard about Catherine's insatiable sexual appetite may have been exaggerated. It is possible that some things were left out of the historical record. I do understand that. But if what Massey actually presented about Catherine is true, I find her no more promiscuous than the average person. But if you'd like to judge for yourself, please read the book. What I liked best about this book was Massey's prose style. It was really easy to read and sink into. This was one of those books that make it perfect for curling up on a rainy or a snowy day with a cup of tea, or whatever it is you want to curl up with. What I liked least? As usual, what I liked least is peculiar to me. I don't like graphic descriptions of violence, and there are more than a few in this book. I enjoyed the book anyway, but some of the scenes have stuck with me for far too long. That may bother you too, and it may not. Everybody's different. And the final lesson I got from the book, I learned from Catherine's story that we're all dealt a hand in life. You can't judge other people's hands from the outside. I would have thought Catherine had a wonderful, charmed life, but it just was not so. How we play the hand that we're dealt with is really up to us. We may win the game and we may lose it. Sometimes it's luck. Sometimes it's circumstances. But no matter what the circumstances, they are something that we have to deal with. And if we do the best we can die peacefully knowing that we at least did our best. And I believe Catherine did her best, and I admire that. Here's the epitaph Catherine wrote for herself before she died. Here lies Catherine II, born in Stettin on April 21st, 1729. In the year 1744, she went to Russia to marry Peter III. At the age of 14, she made the threefold resolution to please her husband, Elizabeth, and the nation. She neglected nothing in trying to achieve this. 18 years of boredom and loneliness gave her the opportunity to read many books. When she came to the throne of Russia, she wished to do what was good for her country and try to bring happiness, liberty, and prosperity to her subjects. She forgave easily and hated no one. She was good-natured, easygoing, tolerant, understanding, and of a happy disposition. She had a republican spirit and a kind heart. She was sociable by nature. She made friends. She took pleasure in her work. She loved the arts. Read the book yourself to see if you agree with Catherine's assessment. So that's Catherine the Great. Some other books by Robert K. Massey include Peter the Great, His Life and Work. I'm going to read this one day. I already have it in my to-be-read pile upstairs. Nicholas and Alexandra, which is about the last Tsar and Tsarina of Russia. And the Romanovs, the final chapter, which is about Nicholas and Alexandra, their children, and how they came to their sad end at the beginning of the Russian Revolution. For more worthwhile nonfiction books to read, hit like and subscribe so you will always have fresh ideas. And if you would like great books like this at your fingertips, check out my book, Library Lynn's curated collection of superlative nonfiction. Here you will find an entire library's worth of recommended books on every topic, arranged by Dewey Decimal System, just like in a public library. You will find links to Catherine the Great and my book in the description box below. If you use my link, I get a small commission from your purchase, which I appreciate because it really helps me out. And finally, share this video with all your book-loving family and friends. Until next time, happy reading.